Welcome back to Virtuous Women TV. In today's video, we are going to be talking about outside children and relationships. So before we get started, please like this video. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and also that you have your notification bells on so that you don't miss when I drop a video. I think my next video is going to be about caretakers. Yeah, I think so. That's what's been tugging on my heart this week. You know, these streets be having my heart in a chokehold with me just wanting to send a bit of my spirit out to women in its maturation, right? I'm in a maturation phase. I've learned a lot, and I want to share things that can help women become psychologically whole from a spiritual perspective, if that even makes sense. But I definitely want to pitch my tent. Because I feel like, you know, just in real life, I feel like just so many women are just all of a sudden having conversations with me. And it's just drawing so much inspiration, and I don't know, it's just cool. It's just cool. But mainly I'm attracting like older women, etc. And a lot of them are in like the caretaking phase of life. And so I said, let me do a video for caretakers. Just some unique thoughts that I have, right? Now, anyways, before I could even get to that, I came across this little clip on Instagram of an interview between Carlos King and Young Jock's wife, Kendra, from the show Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I think Kendra is an attorney, if I'm not mistaken, and Young Jock is a, you know, a musician who used to be, you know, very popular, very famous. And now I don't think he makes music so much as he did in the past. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. So like this video, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, and also that you have your notification bells on. And let me go ahead and roll this beautiful bean footage.
Biggest things that occurred in your marriage that we did get a chance to see on the show is the fact that while you two were married, Jock had a baby on you.
No, we weren't married.
You guys weren't married. You were in a relationship.
We were not in a relationship at the time. We were on a break.
When he got the woman impregnated, how long were y'all on the break at that time?
About 2 months, 3 months.
So
3, yeah.
Was a part of your devastation was we've only been broken up for 3 months.
Yeah.
And damn, in 3 months, you have another woman pregnant.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I felt. Like, I'm like, regardless of whatever type of story he gave me, like, oh, drunk this, drunk that, this and that, you know, I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And that's, you know, and that's just how I felt, you know, and that's how I feel. I'm like, that don't have nothing to do with me. Think, like, people say in the comments all the time, oh, she should have forgave him, and she shouldn't have stayed with him, she wasn't gonna forgive him. I forgave him. But what I don't allow Jaceel to do is allow me to carry a burden that's not for me. I've always said, and I will always have that be a rule for me. You will take accountability or this ain't gonna work. Like, I don't have nothing to do with that. Especially a decision you make that negatively impacts me, you have to deal with that. That was my condition for us to continue.
All right, so let's break down the gist of it. I want to talk first about women's disappointment in relationships, especially while on a quote-unquote break. So the first thing is that there's kind of no such thing as a break, you know. Even from the woman's perspective, I think that women selectively turn relationship terminations into a break once they get back with the guy, or once the guy is doing something he's quote-unquote not supposed to be doing. But there definitely seems to be a miscommunication when it comes to women regarding what a break is. Is a break a conscientious decision that we sat down and talked about and agreed that we would take, and we understand what the terms are? Is a break an actual break up and termination, but you secretly pine for me and want to get back with me, and therefore don't want me to make permanent decisions that make that harder for us to do in the future? Are we over? Are we reconciling? What are we doing? And I think that women are not making it clear when we break up with men what exactly this means, right? my number one rule of thumb is if the conversation is emotionally charged, we cussing and fussing, that's kind of like saying we're gonna get back together. When I'm really done with a nigga, and I don't do no cussing and fussing, just for the record. I mean, it's just not my style. You know what I mean? I'm not really good at obliterating people with that kind of intensity that allows me to still love you. You know what I mean? If I go to a certain place with you, it's with all disrespect and there is no more love there. You know what I mean? But other people seem to thrive in the passion of calling each other out for what they really think of each other, and then still being together. And I don't get that. Words spoken can never be taken back, and I don't have no intentions on taking them back. So what we supposed to do with that? And then if you accept that, I wouldn't respect that either. So yeah, we're probably done. But in general, with toxic couples, when there's a breakup that's not real, it'll be highly emotional and intense, and it's in its execution. Now usually when you're done with someone for good, it's a calm situation. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't gonna work so long. It's me, not you type of girl, from the perspective of it doesn't really matter whose fault it is, because it's not coming back together. And when I know I'm checked out of something, or I'm not gonna work at something anymore, I don't feel the need to tell a person what's wrong with them and let them have it. They already know everything. I can take accountability for whatever my part is in the situation, or even staying or pretending that shit was working for me. You know what I mean? I can take some accountability from that perspective, but for the most part, I'm not gonna try to obliterate anybody on the way out. You know what I mean? That's not really my thing. Because if I felt that way about you, then what does it say about me to have even been with you, right? In addition, I'm just generally not a mean person. I can be a cold person, but I'm not a mean person. So I think that, when a breakup is solidified, is the point that I'm trying to make, is that usually the conversation is much more calm. You know what I mean? The emotions are not as riled up. A lot of people, again, like I mentioned in my closure video, don't even formally break up. They leave the doors open until nobody comes back, and then at some point each person is forced to accept that. But a lot of people don't like the finality of breakups because they want to believe that this is a break. You know what I mean? And sometimes it really is a breakup. Now, Kendra, the problem to me is that men accept the breakup, but sometimes they're still trying to get back with the woman, which can send mixed signals. And I see this a lot in marriages and separations, where the couple is separated, they're broken up, but the man is trying to court the woman, trying to reconcile with the woman, trying to regain her trust, but he's still conducting himself as if they're on the break or if they're single. So all the while, she's kind of like reducing her options. She's not dating. She's reserving herself for him to come correct, to change, change. That's a lot of words that I hear women say that they want men to do. And I just really don't get it. I don't understand the idea behind being with someone that you want to change so bad. And it's like, you don't like that person. If you want them to change that much, you don't like that person. And a lot of men, whether you're asking them to change or not, they're subconsciously brainwashed and groomed into believing that every time you confront them or talk about them or talk to them about something, that you want them to change. You know what I mean? It gets stuck in their subconscious. And it's like, sometimes it's like, no, I don't want you to change. I just want you to show me exactly who you are and let me choose. Listen, they would rather you want them to change than to want to choose them based on who they really are. Trust me and believe me on that, right? Jock, but when men are young, Jock and Kendra, it seems to me he's courting her all the while that they're on a break, right? But meanwhile, he's still dating other women. He's still sleeping around. He's still having his fill with women. And then he pops up with this baby, and it's a shock to her. Now, this baby didn't come out of a situation where the couple broke up for 3 or 4 years and went their separate ways and then got back together, and then that person had a child. No, she feels all of the intensity and the emotion of him having had a baby on her. But because she still wants to be with him, and she knows what it makes her look like to accept him like that, she has to sell us on the idea that this was some type of break baby, even though she knows that it hurt her deeply for him to be having a baby outside of their relationship. But maybe he gaslit her into believing like we were on a break and whoop. And she kind of has to accept that because she was rejecting him getting back with her. But at the same time, us women tend to take the effort that men put towards the relationship and trying to get with us as his statement of commitment or recommitting to the relationship. And that may be a bit of a blind spot for women, to believe that because a man is courting you or trying to get back with you, that he's not sleeping with other women or building relationships with other women while you're rejecting him. He's not letting go of his lifelines, or he's not stopping. He knows eventually he'll win you over, but until then, he's going to get his fill. And then I think it's sad that she has to save face by saying, oh, this happened while we were not together, while we were on a break, but y'all were married the entire time. You know what I mean? And women just need to stand in the paint and say, you know, he had a baby on me, and I choose to be with him, and I choose to accept him. Like I said, a lot of women are raging against their own choices in a lot of situations. And I understand the hurt. I understand the dilemma. I understand the pain. I understand the complexities of being in a marriage. But you always have a choice. You always have a choice. And so she feels like she's going to accept him back, accept the baby and the responsibility of her choice to have a break with him and him to be open to dating. She's going to turn that all back on herself and accept the outside baby, but she's not going to embrace it. You know, she's going to treat it like that's his thing. That's your obligation. That's your recklessness. That's your careless decision. And it was his decision. All of that recklessness and carelessness comes from a man that you love to pieces, because you're getting back with him and you're married to him. So whatever you want in him is all encompassing. You're not piecemealing a man. All the love and body and care and whatever your attraction is to him comes with the recklessness and the carelessness and the ability to make a baby outside the marriage. It's all him, and it ain't gonna change. So don't think that when you accept him back, you are rejecting a part of him. You're not. Women need to get this to their head. There's no such thing as disciplining a man, watching his actions, him changing. That shit is not real. You really have to accept these men for face value once they show you who they are. And you really have to use your IQ, right? Pattern recognition, to be able to deduce his potential from one single mustard seed of an action. You can literally trace his thoughts, his logic, his integrity based on minute things that don't even have anything to do with you. I was looking at something the other day, and the woman was saying that, you know, she hated being with her man because he takes care of his whole family. And she said, oh, I was thinking how great, this is wonderful, because he'll treat me the same way. He's going to take care of me too. And then she said, but all he did when I got with him was expect me to take care of him. And I wrote in the comments like, but your intention was to come and use him up like everybody else was doing. You noticed that he was taking care of everybody else, and you said, oh, he'll take care of me too. Now, what was your plan? To knock everybody else off, or to just add on to him? Either way it goes, you wanted to exploit him the same way that everybody else around him is exploiting him. And then she masked it as, oh no, not masked it. I don't want to say masked it, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm assuming evil intention out of people, because I'm not. I don't think calling out facts for what they are is judging the intention. You know what I mean? But I don't think that people are acknowledging their own subconscious darkness. They think that the things that they do are based on virtue, and they're not sometimes, right? So she says, oh no, I wasn't trying to pile on. That wasn't my intention. I was just seeing what he was doing as virtue. And I said, like I just said, I'm not assuming any negative intention, but what you're really doing subconsciously or maybe even consciously is not caring that this man has a lack of boundaries because of the way that you benefit from that lack of boundaries, right? So instead of you looking deeper into him taking care of his own family and saying, I wonder if there's an issue with boundaries there that's going to affect us later. You're like, no, there's a benefit in it for me, so I don't really care what him taking care of his family is about. That doesn't even concern me. I'm concerned about the fact that I have access to the same thing they have access to. And that's the problem. That's the problem. I know I've had relationships where I've questioned, like, what you doing with this person? Like, you taking care of this person in your family, this person in your family, that person in your family. It's all falling on you. And it can seem virtuous, but in all actuality, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why aren't you setting boundaries? Why are you enabling and handicapping people? Are you getting a sense of pride from being the hero? Are your needs even met? Are you full of resentment because you can't say no? And at the end of the day, what is that going to do for our family and our budget and building what we have together? I'm not joining a harem of your burdens. I'm not your burden. I'm your woman. I'm your wife. But you got to understand those things and talk to him about that before you benefit from it or before you take him on as a mate. You need to see what it's actually costing him and not in terms of the dollars, right? But again, women want what they want, but they don't want to take responsibility for what they want. She doesn't want to take the responsibility of saying, shit, I want him to take care of me like that too. In spite of the fact that he's killing himself trying to do it. That's secondary to what she sees for herself. I think that's why they say all that glitters ain't gold, right? Now, Kendra has it in her mind, back to Young Jock, that she's gonna treat this baby like it's his obligation and his mistake, and that ain't got nothing to do with her. But why would he be in love with a woman that's selfish? And I don't think I don't think it's wrong for women to prioritize themselves and take good care of themselves, but maybe that selfishness is why he's chronically cheating on you and trying to get out of the relationship, despite his conditioning to believe that he should come back to his wife and work it out, or that you have some type of benefit, or he's gaining from you in some way. But there's a reason why he's chronically cheating on you, and it has to do with how he feels about you, right? And how you've shown that, and how he's viewing your potential based on your mustard seed of an action. And so I'm thinking in my head, how you gonna accept him back and then dog the child, or separate yourself from his child and his responsibility, but yet you're his wife? That's the dumbest thing you could do. You must want him to sleep with the child's mother, because with you out the way, is he free to co-parent with his baby mama now? What does that mean for that? The smartest thing you could do as a wife in that situation is befriend the baby mama. She didn't do anything to you. She didn't violate you. She didn't sleep with him while he was your man. He presented himself as a single man and carried on a relationship with her to the tune of them having unprotected sex and a baby. And according to you, you were nowhere in sight. So what's your pressure with her? And if you create a friendship with her, that's a secondary layer of loyalty for you. Because now you have his alleged loyalty, but now you also have her alleged loyalty and camaraderie. But if you go to war with her, or you treat that child coolly, you're going to make him and her bond over you and the bullshit that you have going on, because you can't stand in the pain about your choices that you don't have to choose. You can walk away with your t-shirt and your panties. You don't have to be with these niggas. You don't have to sell yourself out for whatever it is that you think they have to offer. You can build yourself brick by brick. I don't understand the idea of women wanting to rely on men so much. And to me, it doesn't even have anything to do with finances. It's just codependency and not wanting to be alone. You know what I mean? That's and women do not want to admit that. It's less about the man and more about her. You know? And so, to me, logically speaking, if my man has a baby by another woman and we decide to get back together, I'm going to treat that woman well. I'm going to try to build a relationship with her. I'm going to try to be friends with her. I'm going to try to include her. I'm going to try to co-parent her with our family. We ain't got to be sister wives. If he creeping around and he's sneaking and sleeping with the bitch, then I know what to do with him. But I'm not going to assume that. Because if I assume that, then what the fuck am I taking him back for? Right? But I'm not finna sit up there and be the source of tension and dissension and make my anger and my displeasure at a situation known just for attention, when you don't have to be doing this. And then you have women like that treat the child fucked up, be extra harsh, be extra critical, be withholding, and then dare a man to flinch at it. Like, and nigga, you better not say nothing. Like as if him loving the child is a representation of him loving the mother. You better not stick up for this baby. To hell I won't. I always talk to my cousin about this. I say, because he be cheating on his wife. You know, he used to. He's older now. He's like, what, 50 something? I assume he slowed down, but I don't know. My other cousin, his brother, he 45. He been with his girl for like 15 years. He hasn't married her. And he's like, he's telling me like, oh, he's just now falling in love with this girl after like 15 years and them literally being together forever, every day, all day. And they done started businesses together, bought properties together. And he's like, now I'm really like ready to lock in after he's almost 50. And I'm like, why now? And he's like, man, I see my boys, they having strokes. They ain't got nobody. And this and this and that, and I ain't got no kids because they don't have no kids together, and all of those things. Now back to my 50-year-old cousin. I asked him, I said, what would you do if you had a baby and your wife didn't accept your baby? He's like, I would divorce her. He like, she ain't got no choice. She ain't got no choice. That's my family, and it is what it is. But I got a whole nother cousin of the same age. He got 2 kids by one outside lady that nobody in the family even acknowledges or even acts like they exist. So it's like all men are different. All men have a different attitude towards their children, or even towards their wives, or even towards who's actually quote unquote running things in a relationship. I think a lot of it has to do with power and leverage. Some women have the power to make a man hate his own seed, his own child. Some women have that power, whether it's financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. And then some men are like, no, it is what it is. You can go. You know what I mean? Now, I don't recommend being that callous about your actions. You got to be patient with people. You got to be patient with people when you violate them. I want to make a video about that woman who killed the wife of her dude's wife. She killed her dude's wife. She's a side chick. And I wanted to make a different perspective about that. I think women are always, don't confront the woman, confront the man. And I feel like women should be able to talk to each other and have compassion with each other and understanding, especially when you're violating each other. You know what I mean? But that's a separate video. But anyways, my case in point is that when you accept a man, you gotta love him, his decisions, his mentality, his problem solving skills or lack thereof. You gotta love that shit wholeheartedly, or you gotta let it go, because there's no sense in racking up bad karma for yourself for being in a loveless relationship that fills you up with bitterness and resentment, and even running the risk of taking that out on a child. You messing yourself up. And I don't stay with niggas. So you're not talking to me about it. I don't even want to get married at this point. I just don't think it's worth it. But and not based on horror stories or anything like that, but I mean, it's just not worth it. Like, what is the point of it? But at the same time, if I'm with somebody, I'm gonna have the love in my heart to nurture everything that comes out of him. And if he violates me and I can't do that, I'm not gonna be with him. It's just that simple. But I'm not gonna live with anybody and be anxious, unhappy, bitter, untrusting. I'm not that girl. I don't sacrifice that shit for my kids. Like, I don't do that. I'm gonna be the real Slim Shady. You're not gonna change me. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose me if anything. But anyways, I just wanted to offer that up for some consideration, because I think women normalize treating outside babies in a fucked up way, even though they choose to accept a man that's actually with blame. But then you treat a blameless child like they're responsible for what you failed to hold that nigga responsible for. And I just think it's full of shit. And I think they do it on purpose to hurt the man. To hurt his child in front of his face is like a source of revenge for some women. And it's disgusting. Bitches be evil under the guise of being cheated on and acting like a damsel because of it. And it's like, I don't know. Your decision making is a little off for me. So I'm not sure about you. But anyways, sound off in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.